Hi everyone, welcome to the Daily Positivity channel, your go-to source for knowledge and personal growth through great books. Today, Singam channel would like to share with you a book tentatively titled The Power of Self-Sufficiency. I know a friend who always endures and sacrifices for her loved one. She believes that true love is to sacrifice everything for the other person. Once I told her, sooner or later, you'll understand that a long-term relationship needs mutual understanding and growth together, not the way you're doing it now, sacrificing only from one side and being moved by your own sacrifices. Love needs balance, but now I see you are losing yourself, while he doesn't really care about you. Hearing that, she suddenly got angry and replied, "You're not in my shoes, so you don't understand." Why did she react so strongly? Because most people don't want to hear the truth and don't have the courage to face reality. The truth is, when you're no longer yourself in a relationship, when you become weaker, more vulnerable and insecure, then letting go is the best option, sooner rather than later. In the book, dance series Letting Go, which I once introduced, there is a line that says, "What can't be done, let it go. Those without destiny, let them go. The obsessions in your heart, let them go. What you see is memories, what you think is the past." Letting go of obsessions allows you to return to peace. Today's book, The Power of Self-Sufficiency, will continue the book dance series Letting Go by Yamagishi Daoko. Daoko has divided people in the world into three types: those on the ground, those on the trees, and those on the plains. Those on the ground are those who don't realize what or which emotions are unnecessary, inappropriate, or uncomfortable. They can't let go of the past, and they can't move towards the future. Those on the trees are those who have gone through the process of choosing and deciding, knowing they need to let go, but still hesitating, looking for reasons to return to the initial state. Therefore, they often feel anxious. Those on the plains, on the other hand, are those who can freely look down at the scenery from above, and can also climb back onto trees or descend to the ground at will. Those on the plains have the power of true self-sufficiency. Why do I want to continue introducing books related to the topic of learning to let go and minimalism? And how does it relate to the power of self-sufficiency? Most people are still those who are standing on the ground, clinging to unnecessary obsessions and being troubled and anxious about them. Some others have climbed onto trees, realizing they need to let go, but still make excuses to go back and continue. Like some of you, after hearing the introduction to the book Letting Go, immediately list the obsessions, things, and people they need to let go of. But in the end, they still don't have the courage to jump onto the plane and can only silently return to their insecure lives on the ground. Deep down, I know you haven't lived a truly self-sufficient life. So today, I hope I can share the lessons through this book so that I can contribute to helping you step from the ground to a vast sky, opening up the unlimited possibilities of life, moving towards freedom, independence, and self-sufficiency in your soul. This is also the path to true enlightenment, peace, and self-sufficiency in life. Leaving the ground, the first step towards self-sufficiency, dealing with the relationship between yourself and your belongings. The ground often symbolizes the material world, where we connect to our basic needs, such as eating, working, and owning things. Living in the material world, we naturally need to know how to walk on the ground, meaning we need to know how to use material things to continue to survive. But if we become attached to material things, we are very easily caught in the trap of clinging to the belongings around us. Since the advent of humanity, we have become dependent on material things, valuing material possessions. And throughout this history, we have formed a habit of thinking that takes material possessions as a pillar. If a person is bound and dependent on this material pillar, he will completely lose his own pillar and cannot live freely and self-sufficiently. Author Haivo has emphasized that self-sufficiency is the ultimate destination of letting go, or in other words, to achieve self-sufficiency, we must first have the courage to throw away unnecessary belongings. So why is letting go of belongings so important? It's because belongings are not simply objects. To be precise, they are the concretization of invisible things. All the belongings around you are chosen and decided upon by you through receiving, buying, or putting in the effort to achieve. You could say that your current living and working spaces filled with belongings reflect your inner world. For example, there are gifts you receive that make you feel very happy, but you rarely pay attention to. You put them in your closet, only to see them again when cleaning. But you still can't throw them away. Seeing them, you feel how important you once were to that person. Now, try looking around your house and see how many things you can't throw away. The more there are, the greater your attachment to the material world and trivial things. We need to know that in reality, the things that people truly need are very simple. When you can't let go of something, think about whether you're falling into any of the following situations. You think these things aren't broken yet. It's a pity to throw them away. Or you'll need them someday, or it's a gift from that person. Immediately, you will think of the image of the person who gave you the gift. There are things that are truly unnecessary and may never be used, but you complicate your relationship with these belongings, turning them into a relationship between you and the past and the future. But you can't live in the present. You can't focus on the present. So you must regularly clean your house and your room. Every time you clean, it's also a chance for you to clean up your soul. Gradually, the habit of letting go will help you to not buy things and to no longer try to possess things that are unnecessary. Once you develop the habit of letting go, you will realize that self-sufficiency is not far away. Self-sufficiency is not about being able to roam freely in a vast space throughout the world, but simply about starting right now in your own small living space. Letting go is like the foundation of a pyramid. It helps you to be able to set foot on the top of the pyramid, where you can see through the essence of things, illuminating your lost inner self. A self-sufficient person is not someone who can go anywhere they want, but someone who knows where they should go, where they should return. And letting go is the first step that leads to a state of living freely and self-sufficiently. Here, letting go means cutting off unnecessary belongings. For example, things you see that are cheap, so you buy them. Promotional items you get, but your house already has so many of them. Letting go here means discarding. Discarding unused belongings. For example, broken items, bags, boxes, wrapping items, items forgotten in a corner, or items bought on impulse like books, guitars you never touch. For these things, if you think you might need them someday, throw them away. You will see that day will stretch out and may never come. If you feel sorry for throwing them away, donate them to others or resell them. In reality, the items left at your place aren't being used. Change your mindset so that those who can use it can take advantage of it. You'll find that after doing this, you'll no longer be attached to those items anymore. Finally, detach yourself from the obsession with material things. Let go of the obsession to own as much as possible. Letting go of obsession, throwing it away is a pity. Giving it away is also a pity. If getting on the plane is a manifestation of strength, achieving self-sufficiency, then learning to letting go is the ticket to take off. Only when you let go of unnecessary material things can you make good use of the necessary material things to help you smoothly board the flight. Life achieves the power of freedom, self-sufficiency, flies to where you need to go, meets the people, events, and material things you need at the right time in your life. To take off and fly, to improve the resistance of your soul, to let go of the troubles in life, we must accept the fact that as long as we live, there will be suffering. As long as there is still anxiety and trouble, self-sufficiency will naturally leave you. There are many things around us that make us unhappy or angry, but if we are bothered by these things every time, it shows that the resistance of your soul is very low. This is the reason why you cannot become a self-sufficient person on a plane. So what is mental resilience? Just as the body has an immune system, if you accidentally get sick, even if you don't take medicine, you can still recover very quickly. Similarly, in the inner world, mental resilience is like that. Faced with the same problem, someone with low mental resilience will think a lot, be easily annoyed, angry, and furious. Negative emotions are like a thick, dark cloud covering the heart, full of endless suffering. But those with high mental resilience are completely unaffected, maintaining a cheerful and loving spirit every day, loving the earth and heaven, and loving all things. Let's self-examine how strong your mental resilience is through the following 3 characteristics. The first characteristic: people with low resilience are often insecure. Simply put, when something happens, they often have a negative attitude. I can't do it, this is too difficult, I can't do it, and so on. The second characteristic is subconsciously taking others as the central axis. What does taking others as the central axis mean? It means in life, you are always affected by the judgments, actions, and words of others. Those with low mental resilience often have the thought of wanting others to think well of them, so they are very sensitive and react strongly to criticism, reproach, and dislike, always wanting to be understood and recognized by others. The final characteristic is limiting oneself. These people are often afraid of change, having a self-protective psychology, avoiding risks and failures. If you have any of these 3 characteristics, it shows that your mental resilience is not yet high. However, these characteristics will make you always bear a heavy burden of suffering, hindering you from enjoying self-sufficiency and the beauty of each moment in life. So how can you improve your mental resilience? The core method to solve this question is to establish a self-axis instead of taking others as the axis. What is the self-axis? In yoga and traditional medicine, the self-axis is a harmonious axis that unifies mind, heart, and will through the physical body. Mind corresponds to the head, responsible for thinking. Heart corresponds to the chest, responsible for emotions. Will corresponds to the dantian, responsible for vitality. When these 3 points work in harmony, they will form a core that is not affected by the outside, which is the self-axis. Through yoga and meditation, you can practice so that the energy in these 3 points is smooth and unobstructed. This is a very wonderful practice method that can be influenced from the outside, but from the inside, if you don't have awareness and are not eager to pursue self-development in the 3 aspects of mind, heart, and will, it is very difficult to improve your inner resilience completely. For example, reading is also one way to help you develop yourself. But the vast majority of people would rather lie on the couch browsing their phones in their free time. So, specifically, how does improving mental resilience based on the self-axis work? This book has suggested, first, about mind. It means you need to break down fixed thinking. Break down fixed thinking so that you don't limit your life, so that you can live self-sufficiently. Some people say that people's expectations are like shackles, holding you back or imprisoning you. But in reality, what imprisons us is not the expectations, but the fixed thinking behind those expectations. For example, the author once saw a case where the wife told her husband, "I've taken care of your mother, even her private parts, but you haven't said a word of thanks." The wife was 70 years old, and this statement, wanting to be thanked, had been repeated throughout her 45 years of marriage and had become a deep-seated grievance for a wife. It is truly sad for a wife to face this situation. The husband may be a type of man who is irresponsible. However, according to the author, the wife's suffering is largely due to her own fixed thinking. She thinks that she has worked hard to help her husband's family, so she is eager to receive recognition and appreciation from her husband. Inside her, there is always a voice constantly reminding her, if you put in effort to take care of someone, you should be thanked. But in reality, this is a one-sided thinking of the wife. It is possible that the husband doesn't have that kind of value system at all, and he may think that since they are husband and wife, they don't need to say words of thanks, and that a wife should help her husband, which is natural. Facing this situation, the author gave the advice: break down fixed thinking, rebuild your own values, return to the self-axis. The wife helps her husband take care of his mother. Is he really only for a word of thanks? The truth is not so, but because she loves her husband, loves her family, so she is willing to take on the responsibility. This is self-affirmation of self-worth, not related to the need for the husband to say thank you. So, instead of letting fixed thinking bind you, value yourself higher. The second piece of advice is about heart in the self-axis. This means that we need to learn to control our emotions. A person who can control their emotions is someone who always finds their right place without being sucked into the axis of another person. So how do we do this? We do it by observing closely without any judgment or reproach towards others. For example, when you see someone do something unacceptable, you might have thoughts like, how can they do that? How can they do that to me? Just thinking like this, you have started to judge and reproach the other person, and negative emotions, anger will start to surge. Now, the simple way to return to the self-axis is to just see that action and know, oh, so they do it that way. Similarly, it's the same for yourself. Don't think, I'm so insecure, why can't I do anything? Instead, observe yourself. I was thinking like this, feeling like this at that time, and that's enough. In other words, you just need to describe your truest thoughts, emotions, and feelings without adding any judgment to them. Finally, about will. Will here means letting go of desires. The root desire of human beings here is the desire to be recognized by others. To do this, we need to not only rely on the self-axis, but also be aware of taking others as the axis. For example, you have a very unpleasant leader. When you do well, he doesn't praise you. When you do badly, he immediately criticizes you harshly. At this time, you will feel unfair and want him to properly evaluate your efforts. But when you only stop at this thought, it means you are still taking others as the axis, wanting the leader to change. If you have established your own axis, meaning you only observe and don't judge, you may only stop at being silent, ignoring, and continuing to work. When you both take yourself as the axis and are aware of taking others as the axis, you will change your thinking too. Even though I don't like this leader, he is still my colleague in the same group, and the working environment is also a very important factor, so at least I can communicate politely with him. When you know how to balance between upholding your own values and understanding the value of the relationships around you, you will find peace and harmony in relationships. Taking yourself as the axis will help you not to be swayed by praise and criticism. Taking others as the axis will help you to maintain harmony and cooperation with those around you. This is also a way to help you grow and achieve self-sufficiency when facing things that don't go your way. Author Hideyoko has a profound view on self-sufficiency. You have suggested that self-sufficiency is equivalent to self-reliance, combined with freedom and self-sufficiency. That means self-sufficiency will help you to experience the state of mind of self-reliance, freedom, and self-sufficiency. Self-reliance means the ability to clearly distinguish the nature of relationships. No matter what problems you face, you can still self-demand, self-act without relying on the judgments and viewpoints of others, without demanding to be recognized. This is the state of a self who takes control of itself, loving itself. Freedom, on the other hand, is because you have established your own axis, and when necessary, you can take others as the axis to act flexibly and adaptively. This is the state of a free and flexible self. Finally, there is self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency means not being influenced by dualistic concepts like good and bad, rich and poor, or right and wrong, accepting the original state of your own thoughts, emotions, and feelings, so that you can observe without bringing judgment along. This is a state of a generous self, compassionate and grateful for all things. With the ability to be self-sufficient, your life will change dramatically, and you may even create a revolution in your destiny. Now, we are able to be on the highest level of density, where you will have a panoramic view to understand the true nature of humans, events, and material things. In the end, we will briefly review today's sharing. The first thing for us to achieve self-sufficiency, you need to be aware of eagerly self-developing to become a person on a plane. To go up high, the first thing you need to do is leave the ground, let go of the obsession with material things, or remember to throw away unnecessary belongings. This is not simply cleaning the house, but reassessing your relationship with those around you, things, and events. After escaping from the obsession with material things, to truly take off and fly, you need to let go of some of your baggage. Those are the troubles you have when things don't go your way. You can do this by improving your mental resilience, by establishing your self-axis, which includes mind, breaking down fixed thinking. Heart, mastering your emotions, not getting lost in the axis of others. Will, letting go of the desire to be recognized by others. And finally, when you are up high, you have gained a panoramic view at a higher level, and the ability of self-sufficiency is the power of the soul at the highest level, based on a panoramic view. Having this ability means you have gained the experience of living self-reliant, free, and self-sufficient. A philosopher said that life is a journey back to self-sufficiency. I hope all of us can maintain our footsteps on this journey and let ourselves be self-sufficient in every moment. Thank you for watching until the end. Show us some love by subscribing below, sharing this video with your friends, and leaving a comment. Together, let's build a vibrant community.